I'm Dr. D. Welcome to the Doctor's Den. Let's learn together. One of the things I learned from someone else who I spoke with about customer success, Jeff Yeager, he talked about two things which I thought were really interesting. One is that people at the enterprise level, they tend to get pulled in for other discussions because the things that are happening in marketing or in customer success or in, business development or whatever, those decisions can impact the enterprise level sales and the enterprise level customer success. How have you experienced that? Have you experienced yourself sort of getting pulled into discussions that don't necessarily have to do with sales, but in that broader discussion of things?
Yes, completely. By the way, I heard that I watched the snippet with you and Jeff, I think, but you posted on LinkedIn. So it was very interesting.
Oh, thank you.
I did. But yes, I definitely, it doesn't happen too often, but sometimes a customer success manager will come to me and say, hey, Mitch, I'm talking to customer Y. They have an idea. How could we do it? How could we work it? They want my advice, right? So that has happened. Also a lot of, the BDRs and the SDRs, because they know my experience in it and then my success in it, they'll come to me and ask me for advice. How to approach a specific C-level executive.
So you're finding yourself mentoring, as it were, as part of this enterprise experience?
A little bit, yeah.
Has that been something that you would want to do? Is that something you enjoy doing?
Short answer, yes, right? And I like it. I'm always kind of afraid that they look like, but I only like doing it when it's genuine. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody with less experience than me is coming to me and is willing to take my advice and implement it, right? Then I'll do it, right? If I know that they're not going to take my advice and they're not going to implement it, like, don't waste my time. Mm. Not to sound like, egotistical or whatever, but if you're coming for advice,
that's a really important point.
Yeah.
And it's not just one about coming to advice. I think it's true for any mentor-mentee kind of relationship is, listen, you don't have to take all of my advice, but if your attitude is one where I know that you coming to me means you're not going to take my advice, then you're ruining the relationship even before we get started. And there's no reason for you to waste my time. And quite frankly, I don't want to waste your time. And that's, I think, a really important point for anyone who's looking for mentorship to consider is when you go and ask someone to be your mentor, even if it's a short-term mentorship, like on a specific topic or in a specific area of expertise, be aware of the fact that you're going to get judged on some level by whether or not you take that person's advice or at least can explain why you're choosing not to take that person's advice after the fact. One of the two. But if you come across as I'm interested and then don't take the advice, you have set yourself up for a real problem in the future about whether or not they're going to give you time when you need it again. And it's a huge lesson for people who are in or trying to learn. Have you had mentors along your way that have sort of shown you how to be a mentor?
100%. I have mentors that I still go to today, that I speak with. I want to often enough. Like, they know that I'll come to them if I want advice about specific topics, for sure.
Like, there are people who have a really hard time approaching other people, and you're not, as far as I know, one of those people. So how does that make you feel when you get to go to someone and go, hey, I want to learn from you? What does that do for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, you know what? In order for somebody to do that, again, I'm not tooting my own horn or patting myself on the back. You have to remove that you have to stay humble, right? You have to say, hey, maybe I don't know everything about this specific topic. Maybe Joe Schmo knows better. And I'm going to go to him, right? And say, hey, I need help with this, right? Or I need advice, right? And it makes me feel good saying, and especially if that person does have the right advice and I could take even part of it away and it could teach me for the future, huge success. No regrets.